Hey, it's Alissa, and we're heading into week 12 of the Cheese 2.0 Relaunch campaign. I've been just doing weekly updates just to keep everyone informed and be transparent about what I'm doing. But also, I think over the long arc of time, it's a really interesting perspective on sort of solving problems, because I think big problems are solved by taking tiny steps and being consistent. So anyway, some big shifts in the world of business this week. I mean, there was another big COVID spike, so I think that caused people to rethink a lot of the optimism that's happening with the economy. So it's caused some wild shifts. So I kind of want to talk about that, like business in the era of COVID and how people are adapting. That's kind of a big thought for this week. But before I do that, I want to just do a slight recap on what's going on with the relaunch campaign, and I want to keep it short and sweet. I think some people are a little bit confused with all the changes, and I've posted a lot of lengthy videos explaining, but we got to distill it down to a soundbite. So just in short, the cheese relaunch campaign, it started on GoFundMe, and it started with a gestational logo that didn't even really have a name, and I was using R&D Creamery as the sort of placeholder name. It's a horrible name. And I did work with a branding agency, and we got this new branding, which I'm really excited about, and a new web page. So the cheese now, the web page is futurehero.cave.com. I've talked more at length about the reasons behind the branding on the web page. You can check that out. But the GoFundMe campaign it's moving into the phase 2. So the phase 1 was making cheese, which clearly we've gotten to. We've gotten to that and beyond, because now we've got the branding as well. But phase 2 is just innovating and making new cheeses. So I've turned it into a VIP cheese tasting club. A lot of people have been asking me where they can get the cheese, and this is sort of how I'm kind of bridging that gap in the segue, because I'm pitching the cheese to get scaled, to sort of mass produce it, but it's going to be a lengthy process. So in that interim, I want to engage and get your feedback as I'm sort of working on the next generation line of cheeses. So the GoFundMe campaign has now turned into a VIP cheese tasting club. It's got it's going to be kind of limited to what I can make. I want to keep it small, and I want to keep it reasonable, because I'm just doing this on my own. So I'll link to the previous videos where I talked about it more in length, but the breakdown of the prize packages is on the GoFundMe page. You can just access everything on my website, asianwarriorprincess.com. Click the link for Cheese 2.0. Basically, everyone who donates $100 or more is going to get a cheese sampler package sent to them. And there's other packages as well, but that's kind of the sort of big change off. And then I'm going to keep the membership limited. So I'm going to raise money till we get to $15,000, because I think that's a reasonable amount that I can make, and then it's going to be capped. So it's just a one-time last call for artisan cheeses, and it's just going to be short and sweet and fun. And once you're in, you're in. You'll be my VIP cheese tasting club for life, but I got to limit it to $15,000. And then the last thing I want to mention about it is that I'm going to start sending the cheese packages out in order that you donated, and I won't start sending them until after Labor Day because of the difficulty of shipping in the summer. So right now I'm just working on new stuff, And then after Labor Day, I'm going to start shipping the prize packages. So that's pretty much the rundown. I hope that's less confusing to people. I have gotten a couple emails that people have been confused. So, yeah, that's the scoop. In other news, as I mentioned, there's a big shift with another COVID spike, and I think this is causing a lot of people to like really look at business. I mean, I think really what this is telling us is that there's going to be some bigger changes on the horizon. And I mean, I think a lot of people have seen this coming, but you know, it's a question of how we're all going to adapt to this. And I think especially in the world of food, there's things that are going to have to change. I mean, there's ways that we've been doing things that are not sustainable. I mean, even just from the perspective of shipping, you know, I mean, the price has gone up so much, and to even do the cheese how we did it as Punk Rock Labs is no longer viable. I mean, it wasn't really viable when we did it, but we did it anyway. But it's less so now. So a lot of thoughts around that. I think it's a really good time to sort of take a step back and watch and learn, you know, because things are changing, and nobody really knows exactly how things are going to play out. So I think this is actually a really good moment to contemplate and innovate and work on new things. And so I think this cheese tasting club, even though it sounds from a business perspective like, what the hell is she doing? I think it actually lines up with the times that we're in pretty well. So I'm interested in talking more about the long-term ramifications of this whole COVID crisis. I think, you know, even from the perspective of food, I mean, myself personally, like you can see this garden behind me that I've been doing. I mean, part of it is because I've been dealing with an elder care crisis in my family and keeping my mom engaged. But the other part of it is just as a source of food because the prices of everything is going up quite dramatically and quite quickly. And I think that's just one step that we can all take that can empower us as far as access to good food goes. I'm going to talk more about that in a series of videos that I'm doing on my website, my new wellness platform, AsianWarriorPrincess.com. I've been starting to post recipes from the garden, and I just posted one yesterday for kale chips, which is one of my favorite recipes, but I have a lot more coming up with that. So in short, I think we're at the beginning of a really big change, and I'm kind of just trying to batten down the hatches and also just be in alignment with that change, because it's like you don't want to swim upstream against something this big, you know. And so it's daunting, but it's also exciting. And I think you know, in times like these, when there's all this uncertainty and all this change, it's like I'm the kind of person who, like, I get fulfillment from like solving problems and from innovating. I mean, that's really one of my strengths. And I think, you know, in the regular world that we all live in, I think people like me get run roughshod over, you know, because it's like there's always people who are more focused on money and, like, you know, the bottom line, and like you know, just like crushing people, you know, and the means to the ends, and like, you know, it, as long as you get there, you know. And that's not super in alignment with my personal value structure. But you know, at times like this, when you like really need to solve problems, and you really need someone to like get down and dirty with a problem and like actually solve it, instead of just like kicking the can down the road and like, you know, putting lipstick on a pig or whatever, you know. This is the kind of time when a person like me finds a voice. So I'm actually kind of excited about it, because I think this is kind of like my moment coming up. So there's a lot more to say about this, and we'll just keep this conversation going. This is kind of a rambling message, but I was kind of opening up the conversation to talk about business in the era of COVID, because some big changes. But that's it for now. We'll check in next week.